So welcome everybody. This is SharePoint Developer Weekly, episode 16. Today is 3rd of December. I'm calling actually from Ljubljana, from Slovenia, because there's a Thrive conference happening in here. There's a keynote tomorrow, and then I have a dev session, and then I'm flying back home. So I flew in yesterday to Croatia. Croatia and Slovenia are pretty close between each other, so that's why I flew to Croatia. Anyway, so with us today, we have once again a visitor. So Olga, will you do the honors and introducing yourself and what do you actually do?
Hi, well, this is Olga calling from Madrid, and I'm a delivery manager of the SharePoint and F365 team in Plain Concepts, and I am also Office Development MVP.
And you're a developer team manager, was that the title, right?
Yeah, I was developing 1 year ago, but then they changed me the role to more management, and I only do code when I have to do demos to the end.
Is it a good thing? Just out of curiosity, do you like being a manager or?
Yeah. I also love being a manager because I like to talk with the customers and give advice and do more a consultant role.
Yeah. Makes sense, absolutely. And that's quite typical that when people spend a few years on being a developer, and if they are good on human management, then why not actually get them to be a manager as well? I'm a manager, so I don't have a chance to code anymore or anything, so just make stuff up and somebody else is developing that for me. Right, Waldek?
Hold on, so are you trying to say that you have extraordinary personal skills?
That's what I was saying. No.
Well, that's what you were saying. So you just said that you get if you have good human skills, you will become a manager. Next. Oh wait, so you actually get to manage a product, not people.
That is actually true. Yes.
There you go.
I'm not a team manager. I'm not a human because I'm not a good person on human beings, right? So I can't manage with people.
I'm not judging.
Why are we talking about this one? Okay, move on.
On that bombshell.
On that bombshell. So let's do a quick round of things from a developer perspective. So Waldek, let's start with you. What have you been doing on the last week? Well, I know.
Last week I was at the same. We actually, three of us were together in the same place.
Yep.
We were at the European SharePoint conference and Azure and Office 365 conference in Copenhagen. I had one session to present. Vesa, you did a developer keynote. You did some other things as well. Your session was the only one that I get to attend.
You mean the keynote one? Yeah.
No, the last one. I actually didn't attend the keynote.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was there. Rancor had booth. We've done pretty much work there too. So it was for me basically all about presenting my session. That was fun. Meeting customers, doing interviews, and some work. And meanwhile, last week we also released new version of CLI. Did that too. Anything else? I think that would be it.
Now, before we go to Olga, actually, and asking Olga's opinion on this one as well, what was the for you, Waldek? You only saw one session, right?
Well, and keynote too.
Okay, fair point. But and again,
not your keynote. The
favorite session then. But what was the general vibe or the feeling on the conference, or any kind of feelings around SharePoint Dev and those topics?
Well, I'm not sure if I wouldn't say particularly about dev, but the one thing that strikes me more and more, the more I see it and the more I watch keynotes, presentations done by the Microsoft team, if you like, is the more like not the Teams team, but people from Microsoft.
Yeah, got it.
That SharePoint in the past used to be, this box of building blocks, and you could use it to build an intranet, and there were some things available out of the box, and there were some things that you had to build by yourself. Now, over the last few months, it's becoming clear that it's becoming so much more than that. It's becoming more a ready-to-use product that, sure, you can still enrich and extend to your needs, but already by itself, it's so much more than it used to be in the past. In the past, you would start and you basically have to, okay, how do I make it look good, behave good, and be more of myself? Whereas now it's so much so much easier to express your brand as a company and move from there and not have to worry about the setting it up and making it to work.
True. Yeah, the business has evolved quite a lot since the times of 2007 or whatever. So now
yeah.
everything. So what about you, Olga, on the last week? So obviously the European SharePoint conference was a big thing. What's the session which you liked the most, or what was the thing?
Well, Walden talk? No, sorry. Maybe I think that the last day I was in the CN talk about customizing SharePoint sites. I don't know why, but I love branding SharePoint. So I was very excited about what was presenting. And he talked about different custom headers. It's not in the roadmap yet, but they are thinking about to create like a completely custom header for the SharePoint communication sites and modern pages, and also they are planning to have a third-party fonts in the sites. And yeah, this was like very cool because I always love brand a little bit more than the SharePoint, and also I think that it's one of the things that all the customers want, to put the logo big and
which is understandable because they want to make it look like their brand. Absolutely, that was Sean Squire's the branding session. So what about Olga? You've gone from the, let's say, branding background. Do you see people accepting the modern and the kind of because you're more restricted related on what's being supported from branding?
It's something that the customers doesn't understand yet, because sometimes I show a publishing site with a lot of branding, and I have to say later that, well, this is the old SharePoint. Now we have these communication sites that it's all out of the box, but you don't have this customization level already in these modern sites. But there are a lot other things that you can do. They are responsive and they are beautiful, but for example, you cannot change the color of the header or the font type or something like this. So it's difficult to understand and to sell this kind of projects out of the box with SPFX. But we have, for example, the new capabilities in the 1.7, the app web parts, that we will remove the toolbar. So this is a good thing, because maybe we will have a full Kanban except for the menu, for the header. So we only have one piece less, that is the header to run. So but Sian told about a new minimal header that will be rolling out at the end of this year. So I think that maybe with an extension and this minimal header, we can do a good job for branding the SharePoint.
And then like you said, you could take advantage of the single page application pages and then get the full canvas. You're able to do welcome page regardless of what is the business requirement. Obviously, we in Microsoft, would love people to use the actual canvas and page canvas and everything else, but obviously it's good that there is the opportunity to do completely custom experience if needed. So which every now and then customers demand, and whatever customer is requesting, we need to deliver. So
yeah, and another session that I was from Naomi about Microsoft Search. And it was one slide that was very interesting about the future of extensibility of Microsoft Search that I think that they are planning, but it's not in the roadmap yet. That is to use SharePoint Framework also to customize the results of Microsoft Search. So I think that this is like a woo.
It has to come, right? Because we come from the time when you could change everything and anything either by XSL or display templates, and nowadays you can change virtually nothing, right? So there is this huge demand for that. It's Vesa, just ship it.
It's kind of, Olga is always saying they, but actually you're talking to one of the guys who are responsible of making that happen.
Yeah, ship it, Vesa.
No, well, my friend and a colleague Luca was in the ESPC as well, and Luca actually flew in the middle of ESPC to Oslo to actually get these things moving from a SPFX and search perspective. Now, we've been talking about that one internally for a while, and most likely will now get more, let's say, movement out there. So it's going to come. The search has, but it's been waiting for the clarification of the strategic decisions in Microsoft until we can actually do the customization support on top of it. So the extensibility support on top of it. So now the decisions are done. Now we can actually start implementing the SPFX support on that. Now, so that we don't spend, let's move on so that we don't spend too much time.
We didn't talk about you. Like, what was your highlight, low light?
It's been pretty busy recent week. So obviously highlights. Our dev keynote went really well. We had 4 or 5 persons right after Jeff doing that one. So that was kind of cool. It's always nice to present for, what was it, 1,600, 1,800, somewhere around that audience. It's different when you do a small room versus a big room. But all of the demos worked out, so that's always a good thing. And there's an additional level of an anxiety, obviously, when Jeff is in the audience on the front row, and you need to
first row just
actually saying, yeah, exactly. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, kind of going up. Go.
Yeah, good. He was happy. And then I had like 8 partner meetings on Wednesday. Which was a super busy day as well. So having a partner meetings and kind of talking about guidance, which we will potentially start investing, which is more around explaining for our system integrators and ISVs the business opportunities in cloud. So really kind of providing hand-to-hand kind of easy to follow guidance on, hey, what if you would do this and this and this and this, options on the business models and how to transform the classic SharePoint, let's say, customization business to be aligned on the cloud extensibility model. So, but fun to meet people, having discussions, and then we had a few customer meetings. A few of those 8 meetings were customer meetings who were using SharePoint framework, so seeing that stuff live as well. And we'll make some of the pretty cool customer success cases on those. So that's going to be interesting as well.
Cool.
I think having visual presentation of seeing somebody, oh, this is how their intranet is working. Oh, that's a cool web part or whatever. That always helps people to kind of realize what's possible. So absolutely cool stuff. Now let's actually go to the let me share my screen. Let's see, and let's have a look on. Okay, that worked out nicely. Teams automatically went down. That's I wasn't aware of that feature, so that's good. But I can still see you there.
And you are still in a call, and all of us are still in a call.
Yes, seems to be working. And you can see what I'm sharing, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay, it works. Now, one thing what we showed on before we go to the community and other topics, one thing what I wanted to quickly just mention, one thing we showed this in the community call last Thursday as well. We showed that in the keynote in the ESPC is the provisioning service. So this is something which will hopefully come early next year or late this year. So, well, it's already December 3rd, so most likely early next year. Which is basically, the basic idea of this one is that you will have a Microsoft-owned templates available for you to apply to your test tenant. So if you want to have a cool-looking sample site, like as an example, SharePoint Starter Kit applied, you'll just select the template, and then in here, there's the add to your tenant functionality, and then start a provisioning process to get the demo available on your tenant. So something just to be aware, just to mention this a few times, well, covered this in a keynote as well. Right now, this is in early private beta, so this will not work against anybody's tenant yet, but by, let's say, early January, it's going to be then available for anybody to use in the cloud. And we will basically prepare then a set of templates from Microsoft with Microsoft Design Team, which you can then apply to your tenant as a demo environment.
And is this meant as a demo, as a test? Is it meant to, let's say, kickstart your production intranet? What is it?
It's basically as a demo, so demo environments and sample sites. That's what it's meant to be. So to your test tenants, we don't see that as a starting point necessarily for your intranet. Obviously, you can get innovation and ideas from it, but it's still not really around the starting point from an intranet.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, then other stuff. And before we go to the other stuff, let me do. Actually, this.
He always does that. He always leaves the camera.
Yes.
Like at home, he sets coffee, waters plants. I don't know, whatever he does.
I actually open up the window. We're running out of air in this room. But, okay, so let's talk about the other stuff, what we wanted to cover. So this one is from Pat Miller. So Pat Miller is the engineering manager for SharePoint Framework. So he is responsible of leading the team who actually implements and develops SharePoint Framework. And there was a security issue in the NPM in one of the packages, which was widely used across the world, also SharePoint Framework. And that was obviously fixed by us immediately when the situation was clarified, or when we were aware of that. But just to pinpoint that, if you're running into any issues around NPM not finding the needed packages, here's a guidance basically from Pat around that one. So any new or 1.7 solution is not picking up that dependency anymore on the package. Anything what you want to elaborate there, basically, Waldek?
Yeah, so basically, a while back, I think it was last week, they discovered security issue in the flatmap stream, event stream package that is by itself downloaded, I don't know, over 2 million times a week. So I think somebody mentioned that. And basically, it would steal Bitcoin wallet keys. So if you had some other project that would accept Bitcoin payments and you would implement specific kind of wallet, that thing would steal the keys to access that.
Yeah.
Right. So, but the chance of that happening in SPFX is nil, I think. But on the bigger scale, if your company does some other work related to it, then you might be exposed. Well, the good thing is, as you said, it's been fixed. It's been addressed. It's been fixed, and the dependency is now correct.
Yeah, yeah. But it's a good reminder of the potential security challenges what people might be actually having. So. Yep.
Definitely.
Good. Moving on other topics. So here's a from Chowa. I'm sorry. But here's a good blog post around how would you adjust your SPFX components based on the user agent, so all the mobile and devices and so on. So this is a good example of a actually super valuable blog post, which isn't too long, but it has the key relevant information. So if I zoom in, you can probably see me zooming in, but you can actually see that how the user agent is based on a user agent. We are actually, let me adjust that one slightly. We're rendering a different set of information inside of the code. Relatively simple, but good reminder that how we can actually do this quite easily by accessing the navigator and user agent properties.
Yep.
Cool. The next one, just out of curiosity, actually, Olga, do you, in your case, do you always is the web parts what you are building in your company? Are you kind of adjusting them based on the device, or are they scaling automatically?
Usually no. Usually we use the same render in the web than the mobile.
Yeah.
But maybe in the future, a customer can ask that different render in the mobile application of SharePoint. I don't know, but it could be useful.
By default, if you're using SharePoint Framework, it is natively responsive and it adjusts on the device. So you don't really have to worry about it. But if needed, if you want to have a slightly different rendering or something else in the web part, you can use the user agent to figure it out.
I wonder if this could be used, for example, for a case where you would want to link from your SharePoint page, have a deep link to an app on your phone. And then you would have different kind of links depending whether you're Android or iOS.
Sure.
I don't know if that could be used for that, but sounds in theory at least one way is like how you could apply that.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. Yeah. Now moving on different topics. Here's a nice from Joe around.
I don't know how. I think we need to get like one of them because we are.
Yeah.
We're mentioning them on a call like every other call. We need to get at least one of them on a call, have them, and then we'll just play back the name every single time we mention them.
Exactly. Anyway, so this is a nice sample related on birthday SharePoint Framework web parts. So basically using Azure Function, Microsoft Graph, and PMPM.js to then represent, let me zoom that slightly, the upcoming birthdays in the company. And that's actually pretty cool. So as long as the data exists for the user profile, you can actually do this.
Well, so actually in here, that's actually a pretty nifty way to do that, because the way it works is that he has function in Azure that will sync the data from AAD and will only do the delta.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty more complicated than just pulling the UPA or UPS and then pull it from there. No, he actually syncs the data and then only does a delta.
Yep.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And this one, I think we had a source code available. Well, there's an way.
No, but you can buy it. No.
Yeah. That's not how the community should work. No, never mind. To be fair, everybody
sharing is scary.
It needs to make money out of their day job as well, so it's understandable. So, well, anyway. But cool stuff. Good example. It's a nice looking web part as well. So nice looking implementation. So I could use that kind of a thing in our intranet. Absolutely. Now moving on things from Joel. Rodriguez around restoring deleted SharePoint documents, which are already restored by OneDrive. Restore deleted SharePoint documents already restored by OneDrive. Restoring documents. Let's concentrate on that one. So there's basically 3 ways you can restore the documents.
It's to restore all the versions of the document, because when you restore from the recycle bin, you only restore the last version. So he wants to restore all the versions of the document. Yeah. So I guess that the customer didn't apply a retention policy in SharePoint, because if he had a retention policy, he can restore all the versions from the preservation whole library in SharePoint. So in case that you didn't apply this, I guess that you can use this PMP command.
Yep. Yeah. So and on that one, we chatted about that one a few minutes before the call started. So can you explain where can you enable that, and what does it actually do?
Yeah, it's very easy. It's in the security and compliance portal. You can apply a retention policy from all SharePoint sites. So it's very easy, or from 1 or 2 sites, you can define this. And then a new library in every site collection is created, and it's called preservation whole library. So all the copies of the documents that are deleted go there when you delete a document. So you are always have a kind of backup.
Makes perfect sense. And a great capability. Obviously, it will eat up some storage, but storage is not really an issue in cloud anymore. So that's cool. Moving on other things. So from David, this is a nice series around list formatting automation. So this is a quick tip keyboard shortcuts, but there's actually part 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, this is the 4th one, related on setting up the environments for list formatting, configure VS Code, and then using Office 365 CLI, where apparently you, Waldek, visited as well, right? On the video.
Yeah, right. Yes, I have. I was.
So what did you tell there?
What's that?
What did you tell there? We're now jealous. Why are you actually visiting on David's video? Why, no.
Well, so the funny thing about it was that the other day he mentioned to me that he wanted to do that, and he wanted to show how you can do it with PowerShell. And then, okay, so how would I do it in CLI? And at that point, so he asked me that on Friday. I was like, so I'm doing this video on Monday. You know what? We actually cannot do it in CLI. Oh, crap. So basically, over the weekend, we released new beta where we could do it, and then we recorded the video, basically to have a structured and repeatable way of deploying your list formatters across OSs.
Yeah.
Right, because in PowerShell you could do it only on Windows still, and in CLI you can do it anywhere you want, and also in your builds. So there was the one thing that David wanted to mention is like to be inclusive of the whole audience and not just focus about Windows.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. He's doing a great job on the videos and providing a lot of guidance for the community as well, which resulted then I think this was from, well, obviously it was from last week because we're covering last week's stuff. So this is November 13th. This is David basically explaining how the Microsoft SharePoint PnP community changed my career and can change yours as well. So around the community contribution and how the community actually works. And obviously we're highly inclusive. Anybody who wants to have a demo, more than welcome. We want to help people to be successful. Obviously in the limits of the resources what we're having, because we have quite a few issues on scalability, right, Waldek, every now and then, but
no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's true.
It works perfectly fine.
Yes. But this is a nice story from David around the fact that how the community works and how you can volunteer for the community sample demos in the community calls and how to follow up on what's happening and all of that stuff. So there's a lot of links and on this post as well. But great writing, great article. Thank you, David, also for the positive feedback around the way we are and how we work in the PnP side. So it's a relatively big change how the community, the PnP model versus how the SharePoint or let's say Microsoft Dev community used to be back in times. So we're changing the model basically to be community-driven rather than Microsoft-driven, which is a important point for us. So. Cool. And then a final thing, actually quite a lot of videos this time. Well, few videos. Paolo has a new video around his Tech Talks, or he has his Tech Bites, actually, episode 35. So dynamic data with SPFX 1.7. So SPFX 1.7 included a general availability for the dynamic data, and he's basically then explaining how it works and goes through that with the live demos and how to implement that. We do have samples around the dynamic data also available in the sample repo. I think, Waldek, you actually created the sample, didn't you?
That is true. That is true.
That was around events, wasn't it? Something like that?
It was about events, showing location on a map, and then showing details of an event. That is true.
Let's actually add now that I remember that, let's add the link to that sample in the video notes as well when we get this one out. So, but typical scenario for, let's say, dynamic data is that you're connecting two different web parts in a list and a details view, like Paolo does here as well, and like within the Waldek's example, which he prepared. Basically, you have a list of events, and then you click one event, you will get additional details. So cool stuff and well explained. So Paolo is really good on explaining these concepts in a simplistic way. So which is really good. But he should smile more on these videos, right?
It's just the focus, like he gets all into the zone and it's like, dynamic data, you should definitely use it. Like, you gotta use it. It's so good.
Okay. Cool. But that's all we're going to do from a article perspective this week. So let me close the sharing, and then we get to this nice view again. So everybody is on the call and visible on the call. Any last words, thoughts, ideas, anything, Olga? Now that you're our visitor, we're throwing curveballs. How would you see, or is there something what Microsoft should be doing better with the community stuff, or how we could more, let's say, successful, or is the
totally not putting you here on the spot?
That's a very, very difficult question. I wasn't prepared for that.
Where do I start? Right?
I think that you are doing a great job. I would love to participate in the PnP team to maybe doing some demos. But yeah, now that I'm a manager, I don't have a lot of time. Yeah, but I will try to push my team to do it instead of me. Yeah. But yeah, it's a really good job. We are using a lot of your resources and examples. And for example, all the PnP reusable components, they are very great. And we use it in a lot of projects. And yeah, you are making a great job.
Yeah. The one thing that I wanted to ask on a related note is that, to what extent do you think people in Spain are aware of what we do? Because oftentimes what we see is that locally, some countries are more on it than others, and I have no idea why. But how do you think people in Spain, do they know about us, or is there anything that we could do?
They know about it, but in Spain, one of the stoppers that we have is the language. A lot of people, a lot of people, they don't are more shy about speaking in English. For me, it happens also. And that's why maybe they don't participate in the community calls or this kind of things that you are moving. But yeah, I have a user group in Madrid, MadPoint, that we do meetups, and we talk about PMP, and in the SharePoint Saturdays that we are organizing, we talk about, and we know that people are using it. So we are trying to push the Spanish community to use it. So, but
cool.
Step by step.
yeah, exactly. Cool.
And obviously, even though you can consume, most likely they understand English, like a lot of the audience, so that they can consume the material, but they can't necessarily. And I do know, I'm from Finland, and we have the language challenge as well. And for many people, it's really hard to kind of start just talking English natively or presenting, because people feel scared of doing or mispronouncing something or whatever. And I think the number one way of actually trying to, or at least what happened for me, was that at some point I just realized that I don't care anymore. And sure, people are making fun of stuff what I say every now and then, whatever, but it doesn't matter. I think as long as the message goes across and you're being understood,
But I think that's a weird thing, because I mean, I don't know if we have the numbers, but I would suspect that a big, if not the biggest part of PNP is a non-native English speakers. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So for everybody, it's a foreign language. So
why not? But, but
it requires practice as well. So that's fair.
Yeah, but it's only, I think that it's only that people like are starting also using SharePoint Framework. For example, we did the Office 365 Developer Bootcamp 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and people are starting to using in real projects now after 2 years, I think. So it takes time. So
absolutely.
Learning the ways and learning the right ways. It's not yet 2 years. It's on February 23rd, if I remember correctly. It's 2 years. So less than 2 years. We're getting there. So, but the growth curves are just insane. So it's just mind-boggling. I think in the European SharePoint conference, I had a slide where I updated the year-over-year growth, and it was 474% since last year. And already last year ago, SharePoint Framework was more widely used than SharePoint add- ons in cloud. Mm-hmm. So you can then kind of get a hunch on where we are. It's growing insanely fast.
We use SharePoint Framework in almost all of our projects here in Plain Concepts. Like maybe 80% of the projects we use at least extension or a simple webper, because out of the box now the product are missing some webpers, important webpers that they want. So we build it. Yeah. So. Yeah,
and that's actually interesting. We can actually see that in a site scope, we can see more extensions being used than webparts. If you just calculate the per amount of sites where SPFX, custom SPFX is being used.
Yeah, but I mean it makes sense, right?
Makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. But as an example on the growth, just kind of explaining that it's when we estimated this fiscal year is from July to end of June next year. In Microsoft, fiscal years are kind of not calendar years. So, and we had an estimate of X for the growth of the SharePoint Framework usage. We achieved that by end of October. So
what are you going to do next, or the rest of the time?
But it tells how difficult it is right now to even do an estimate, and that was a kind of a realistic estimate, but then and just insane. Which is good, because it shows that whatever we've been doing and people want to actually build customization using that. And also our own engineering loves to do new stuff because it's based on SharePoint Framework. It's a great way of doing customizations. And I think people are finally accepting the fact that, well, I need to learn this, so which is good, because that is the future way of doing not only SharePoint customizations, but also other customizations like Microsoft Teams tabs. We will have more news on other platforms sooner or later, so it's looking really, really good. Now, that was a long chat. Sorry, I need to go for a quick lunch as well and then get back to work on other stuff. But thank you, Olga. Great to have you on the call.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And great to have you here. Thank you, Waldek. Any last words, Waldek? Olga? Thumbs up. Keep on doing SharePoint framework.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.